Hey there, I wanted to make a video today and just share something that's been on my mind for the last couple of months. It's made me feel pretty surprised and pretty sad. This video is specifically for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but anybody watching, feel free to watch. For about the last 2 months, it's been about 2 months and 10 days, an email was sent out by our prophet, Russell Nelson, and his two counselors, Dallin Oaks and Henry Eyring. And I wanted to read the quote. It was emailed out to every member of the church who basically has an email address. If you've got an email address and you're a member of the church, then you most likely got this email. And it's about our prophet's support for the vaccinations against COVID-19 and for still being careful and wearing masks. And a lot of people are so against these things, but I just want to reread the quote that our prophet sent to us just last August. August 12th? So that's been about 2 months and 10 days. And I'm just going to read it again. He says, "Dear brothers and sisters, we find ourselves fighting a war against the ravages of COVID-19 and its variants, an unrelenting pandemic. We want to do all we can to limit the spread of these viruses. We know that protection from the disease they cause can only be, we know that protection from the diseases they cause can only be achieved by immunizing a very high percentage of the population. To limit exposure to these viruses, we urge the use of face masks in public meetings whenever social distancing is not possible. To provide personal protection from such severe infections, we urge individuals to be vaccinated. Available vaccines have proven to both be safe and effective. We can win this war if everyone will follow the wise and thoughtful recommendations of medical experts and government leaders. Please know of our sincere love and great concern for all of God's children. The First Presidency, Russell M. Nelson, Dallin H. Oaks, and Henry B. Eyring." These are the words of our prophet and his two counselors. And I'm just so surprised that ever since then, when I go to church, or I go to a meeting that's church sponsored, or when I go to other events and activities that have a high percentage of members of the church, the majority of people aren't wearing masks, and we're not socially distanced. I mean, we're packed together in these activities, and the majority of people aren't following our prophet's counsel. Now, I don't know who's been vaccinated or not, but I know of a lot of people who, even though our prophet has come out and said this, they're still so against vaccinations. I mean, it's one thing for people who aren't members of our church to have doubts about the vaccine. But, I mean, it's been medically proven the vaccines are, 80 to 90% effective and safe against such a deadly virus as COVID-19. And we as members of the church not only have the medical research that's been proven to be true, we not only have that to rely on, we have the words of the prophet of our Lord Jesus Christ. Who doubts that? If you're a member of our church, who doubts that? And more than surprised, it makes me sad that a lot of people still doubt the words of our prophet. And this isn't the first time that he's said this. Go back to the beginning of the year of 2021. This was January 19th of 2021. And this wasn't sent out to everybody's email, but it was put on the church's website. The First Presidency released, the title of the article is "The First Presidency and Apostles Over Age 70 Received the COVID-19 Vaccine." So this is early January 2021. Vaccines are just barely starting to get rolled out to the public. And this was for people over 70, which our prophet and a lot of our apostles and their wives are over 70. And this is what it says. The First Presidency released the following statement Tuesday about the importance of vaccinations and immunization against preventable diseases. In word and deed, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has supported vaccinations for generations. As a prominent component of our humanitarian efforts, the Church has funded, distributed, and administered life-saving vaccines throughout the world. Vaccinations have helped curb or eliminate devastating communicable diseases such as polio, diphtheria, tetanus, smallpox, and measles. Vaccinations administered by competent medical professionals protect health and preserve life. As this pandemic spread across the world, the church immediately canceled meetings, closed temples, and restricted other activities because of our desire to be good global citizens and do our part to fight the pandemic. Now COVID-19 vaccines that many have worked, prayed, and fasted for are being developed, and some are being provided. Under the guidelines issued by local health officials, vaccinations were first offered to healthcare workers, first responders, and other high-priority recipients. Because of their age, senior church leaders over 70 now welcome the opportunity to be vaccinated. As appropriate opportunities become available, the church urges its members, employees, missionaries to be good global citizens and help quell the pandemic by safeguarding themselves and others through immunization. Individuals are responsible to make their own decisions about vaccination. In making that determination, we recommend, where possible, they counsel with a competent medical professional about their personal circumstances and needs. So that was in in January of 2021. And then again in August of 2021, that quote I read again urges members to get vaccinated. The vaccinations, the prophet said, the vaccinations are an answer to our prayers and our fasting. Remember, we had that worldwide fast, and it wasn't just for church members. Anybody who wanted to participate could participate. We had that worldwide fast in April of 2020, just a couple of weeks after the shutdown. And here our prophet was saying, these vaccinations, they came fast. And I admit, I was hesitant to get it because of how fast they were developed. But our prophet assured us that it was an answer to our prayers and our fasting. And then when our prophet and apostles and their wives who were age 70 and older got the vaccine, that really helped me to trust that he was telling the truth, and that our medical experts were doing the best they could, and that they felt that these vaccinations were safe enough to start getting rolled out. And our prophet told us that they were an answer to our prayers and our fasting. And so I got the vaccination in April and May when it was open to people around my age. And I've just been trying to do my best to follow our prophet. And if you guys remember, in April of this year, April 2021, General Conference, Our prophet also said this. He said, this is April 4th, 2021, General Conference. And our prophet Russell Nelson's talk entitled COVID-19 and Temples. And he said, you may be wondering when you will be able to return to the temple. Answer, your temple will be open when local government regulations allow it. When the incidence of COVID-19 in your area is within safe limits, your temple will be reopened. Do all you can to bring COVID numbers down in your area so that your temple opportunities can increase. Do all you can. Temples were shut down for over a year. I know that some temples were operating at phase 2, which means, if somebody was getting married, then they could schedule an appointment to go to the temple and get married and have a few people there to participate. And that was about it. I can't remember exactly when in the summer, but sometime in the summer, I think it was June. Temples in my area, I live in Utah. Temples in my area were opened to phase 3, which means that temple ordinances can still happen, but you have to schedule an appointment. And I'm a temple worker, and so when we got to go back to the temple for phase 3, that was really cool, but not a lot of people were allowed to come still. We had to limit numbers. There's 6 initiatory booths in the Provo Temple, and so you could only have 6 people an hour coming, which normally you'd have 2 or 3 people in each of those booths every hour. The endowment rooms, they can hold up to like 60 people, but and those were happening 3 times an hour. But the endowment rooms are only allowed to have, I think, a total of 24 people in the room and only 1 per hour. So yes, temples are open in phase 3, but we could be getting so many more people in there and doing so many more ordinances for the living as well as for the dead. And we could be doing so much more if our temples could progress to phase 4. And I wonder if some people, because the temples are at phase 3, I wonder if some people are happy with that. The work is still very limited. And also, when temples first opened up, because of the lower rates of COVID-19 cases, masks were optional for the workers as well as for people who just came in. Masks were optional. A few weeks later, maybe a month, sometime in July, I believe it was, masks became mandatory for temple workers. So when we'd go to do our shift in the temple, we'd have to make sure we wore masks. Masks were still optional for people who came to help in the temple. Just this last September, just a month ago, September 22nd, a message went out to the whole church on the church website where now not only workers, but people coming in to help in the temple, everybody who enters the temple has to wear a mask. And so you can see how, and that's because the COVID-19 cases and deaths are rising and things are becoming more dangerous again. And here is what our prophet said on September 22nd. Dear brothers and sisters, we are grateful that in recent months, some level of ordinance work has resumed in every temple. Our desire is to keep temples open. As cases of COVID-19 increase in many areas, we want to do everything possible to allow temples to remain open. Therefore, effective immediately, all temple patrons and workers are asked to wear face masks at all times while in the temple. These safety protocols are temporary based on COVID-19 conditions and will be rescinded as soon as circumstances permit. Our urging church members to be vaccinated and to protect themselves and others from the spread of diseases has precedent. Prior first presidencies shared similar messages in 1900 about smallpox and in 1957 regarding polio. Please do all you can to protect yourself and others so the work of the Lord on both sides of the veil can move forward. Sincerely yours, Russell M. Nelson, Dallin H. Oaks, and Henry B. Eyring. And then, just earlier this month, October 2nd, General Conference, our prophet Russell Nelson's words at the beginning of the conference. We are still dealing with the ravages of COVID-19 and its variants. We thank you for following our counsel and the advice of medical experts and government officials in your own communities. Was he thanking you? Who has followed his counsel and who has not? I see so many people who are not. Okay, I know that for some people, this is a real trial of their faith. You know, they hear things about the vaccinations and about masks and things that aren't true. Crazy things that aren't true. A lot of people believe it. A lot of members of the church believe it. And I'm asking you, do you believe the prophet of our Lord Jesus Christ? Do you believe him? When you watched General Conference to sustain our prophet, as a real prophet of Jesus Christ, just like Moses, just like Peter, just like Joseph Smith, did you raise your hand to support our prophet? Did you do that just out of routine, just because that's what people in the church do? Or did you mean it when you raised your hand? That's about all I have to say. I'm not saying this to say that anybody who has struggled to follow our prophet so far, I'm not saying that, oh, you're bad people. I'm trying to help you to trust the prophet of the Lord. Okay? Trust him. He's a prophet of Jesus Christ. And if we follow him, we're going to be all right. Look throughout the scriptures, the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, the Pearl of Great Price. Look throughout the scriptures, examples of when people didn't follow the prophet and things went bad for him. Or when people did follow the prophet and things went good for him. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have any problems in life when you follow the prophet of Jesus Christ. The vaccinations, they're about 80 to 90% effective. You may be one of the low percentages of people who still get COVID or maybe have a bad reaction to the vaccination. But the vast majority of people who get the vaccinations are going to be fine. And as we do that, it will help limit the spread. It's not going to completely stop the spread. I mean, maybe, but most likely it is at least going to limit the spread. And that's what our prophet's asking us to do. That's what medical experts around the country are asking us to do. So I hope that anybody watching this video who hasn't gotten vaccinated yet will believe our prophet and will do it. You'll be blessed for it. And I hope to see members of our church wearing masks, as the prophet said, when we can't socially distance. And we've all heard this for the last year and a half. We all know what social distancing is, 6 feet apart. We all know what the hand washing, social distance, wearing masks. Masks help. Okay. Our prophet Russell Nelson, he was a surgeon, a heart surgeon for his entire professional career. Wore a mask to work every day. And so don't complain about a mask to our prophet who, before he was an apostle, before he was the prophet, wore one every day at work. And now he's a prophet of our Lord Jesus Christ. I hope that members of the church will have the faith to follow the prophet of Jesus Christ. See it.